Okay, so we talked about owning an Amazon FBA business. We talked about owning content sites. We talked about selling ebooks through KDP. And there were pros and cons to all of the business models. And I'll link to those videos in the description if you want to check any of them out. But if those business models didn't quite match what you were looking for, or maybe you're just looking for a business that you have a bit more ownership over rather than selling a product on a third-party site, something that you can make great monthly recurring profit from and still be able to sell the business for potentially a huge exit, then the SaaS business model could be the business model for you. In this episode, we're going to discuss what a SaaS business is, how you can build and operate this business model, how to grow this business, pros and cons, and who might like this business model. So let's get into it. First, what is a SaaS business? So SaaS literally means software as a service. And in very simplified terms, a SaaS business is a business that provides a service that a customer can use by logging into an account, and usually they pay a monthly or an annual subscription. So why do people use SaaS businesses? So SaaS tools, they typically either reduce cost in a business by replacing the need for hiring people, or it makes existing processes simpler or more efficient. Some examples of well-known SaaS businesses are MailChimp for email marketing, Canva, which is a point-and-click design tool. You have Zoom for video conferencing, Slack, which is a team chatting tool, Epidemic Sounds, which is royalty-free music to use for YouTube videos, and Ahrefs, which is an SEO keyword research tool for content marketers. Now, I just named some pretty large SaaS businesses, some of which may have hundreds of employees, but you can build a smaller SaaS business with a much smaller team and possibly even just yourself. And one of the main benefits that makes SaaS such an attractive business model is that once you've built the SaaS tool and you have paying subscribers, depending on the tool, this could provide a source of monthly recurring revenue that doesn't really require a lot of ongoing cost and time to maintain. So to start, let's talk about how to build this business model and how it operates. First is choosing the problem that you're solving and the service you're providing. So you need to identify a need that people and businesses have that can be addressed better by using a software tool. So where do you start to get your ideas though? Well, one way you can get some ideas is starting with you. So do you currently have a profession where you offer a manual service that could be turned into a subscription service? And actually, I bring this up because several of our sellers who've sold their SaaS businesses on Empire Flippers, they started exactly in this way. They might have been freelancers who offered a service and they couldn't add on more customers without adding more hours. So they made a service that effectively scaled themselves. Or maybe they work with clients or are just working in a job or an industry and they see opportunities to improve some of the existing pain points that they themselves experience or that they see customers experiencing. So one benefit of generating an idea in this way too is that you're also potentially validating the product market fit alongside this, because if people are already paying for this service and you can provide a better and potentially less expensive experience with your SaaS tool, then you're in a position where you already know your target audience, how to reach them, and potentially you have even people who would be willing to immediately transition over to your service. So number two is building the tool. How do you build a SaaS tool? Until recently, your only option to build a SaaS tool was by coding it yourself or hiring someone to code it for you. But there is another option now, which is using low code or no code tools. So let's compare these two ways of building a SaaS tool. So let's start with the traditional method. Traditionally, SaaS businesses are built by a programmer capable of coding software and designing websites. So some of the pros and cons of building a SaaS tool in the traditional way, let's start with the pros. First is you own the product. Since you've built the platform and the product from scratch, you might not be as reliant or reliant at all on a third-party platform such as Shopify or Amazon like you are when you're selling an e-commerce product. Of course, limitations can exist though if you're selling your SaaS product on another platform, such as if you have a WordPress plugin. In that case, you're still relying on a third party in some sense. Next is you have greater customization. So you're building something from scratch, which means that you can customize it according to your imagination, your technical abilities, and your resources. Now let's get into the cons. The first con is that it can be very expensive and take a lot of time. So the upfront cost can really vary between SaaS businesses, and it's usually based on how large or complex a SaaS product is. But when you're hiring a technical person or team, it can take time and money to build something ready for the market. And not only that, but once you launch your first iteration of the product, you're going to be iterating the product according to customer feedback. So the costs don't stop when you build the first version of the product. Next is that it requires the skill set of coding. If your goal is to start off small and maybe take on more of the work yourself, you will need to have technical abilities or be willing to learn the necessary skills involved in building software, front-end websites, designing, bug fixes, and iterations. Now let's talk about no-code SaaS. So no-code platforms, they kind of exist in this middle ground between traditional programming platforms and the final product that end users will interact with. Building a no-code product essentially uses other SaaS tools that allow you to make your own SaaS product. It's kind of like a point-and-click website builder, but for building SaaS products where you have templates and pre-programmed code blocks that can be positioned on a web page by simply dragging and dropping them as desired. Now, these blocks are coded to perform specific functions, and piecing together multiple blocks together can create a more complex series of functions that results in a product that the end user can interact with. So you can use these tools to really customize your software's look and your user experience really without writing any code at all. Now let's talk about the pros and cons. So let's start with the pros. First is that it doesn't require as much technical knowledge. So point and click is very intuitive and it's meant to be picked up quickly. And this allows anyone with skill sets, even in other fields that are not technical, to build things that their industry could really benefit from. So now a teacher could build something that helps them manage their classroom attendance or student progress, or a gym owner could manage their guests better. Now I'm just making these situations up, but I'm trying to use examples of people who might have a real need that could help with their daily tasks, but building a solution was, until now, not even considered a possibility due to the technical requirements. So the next point is that it can be way cheaper and far quicker to build. Because it's point and click, doing the work can be done yourself or by someone else who might be far less expensive than someone building something from scratch. Not only that, iterations and fixes can be far quicker. So you could be way more agile with your product development with a smaller team or with just yourself. Now let's talk about the cons. First is that there's less customization. So if you aren't building something from scratch, if you're using other pre-programmed blocks, you ultimately have to work within the parameters of how you combine the different tools. Next is you're paying a subscription or multiple subscriptions to run the business. So if you've built a no-code business off of multiple SaaS subscriptions, then you will be incurring those costs continuously, even after you've built the product. Next is you're reliant on third parties. So I know I've mentioned this several times for other business models. Whenever you are relying on other company platforms to sell your product or to drive traffic through, you are at the mercy of those companies' terms of service, and your business could always be impacted. Now, if you want to learn a little bit more about what's possible with no-code tools, I did write a case study about a seller who built a SaaS business entirely with no code and sold it on the Empire Flippers platform for almost $500,000 and in 37 days after it went on the market. So I'll link an article in the description below for that. All right, number 3 is acquiring users and customers. So once you've built the product, how do you go about acquiring customers? First is starting with your network. If you're already working with clients or customers that would benefit from your tool, then you already have a pool of people to try your product and ideally become a customer. Next is advertising and sponsorships. Any relevant platform that allows you to advertise and get in front of your audience, or you can use sponsorships like influencers on YouTube or on podcasts can mention your product. Of course, this will come with a potentially large upfront cost. So if you want to go for unpaid options, next is organic. Looking for unpaid marketing opportunities such as posting onto free forums. Next is affiliate partnerships. So you can offer a commission to bloggers or YouTubers to promote your SaaS tool as opposed to paying a fixed cost up front. Next is incentivizing referrals. So you can offer existing subscribers an incentive such as a discount on their own subscription or their own commission if they refer other customers to you. Next is offering sign-up incentives through free and trial versions. You might have a free or light version of your tool, and if users need to, they can upgrade. So Canva and Slack have payment terms like this. Or you might offer a limited time free offer. So Epidemic Sounds offers a 30-day free trial, and you can remove free trials as well. So I remember Ahrefs, they offered a 7-day free trial, and now you just have to pay for it right out of the gate. Number 4 is operating the business. So once you've built the product, you have your traffic channels and paying customers. To maintain the business, your main job includes replying to customer support messages and the bug fixes, iterations, and improving product features. Now let's talk about how to grow this business model. All right, so there are metrics that SaaS owners try to optimize that are signs of a healthy SaaS business. And when buyers are looking for or looking at SaaS businesses to purchase on the Empire Flippers platform, they're also looking at these metrics. And this is helpful for SaaS owners because these areas can provide you with focus and a direction for how to grow your business. So here are just a few metrics. First is MRR, or monthly recurring revenue. So how much revenue are you bringing in on a monthly basis? And next is MRR growth rate, which is how quickly is your revenue increasing over time. Next is churn rate. So churn rate is the number of customers who cancel their subscription over a specific period of time, like maybe monthly or annually. Next is customer lifetime value, or CLV. And this is based on how long a customer normally uses your product and how much they pay for it. So CLV is the total worth a customer brings to a business. Next is customer acquisition cost, or CAC. If you're paying for advertising, referrals, or sponsorships, how much does it actually cost to acquire a customer? Next is the LTV to CAC ratio, so the lifetime value to customer acquisition cost ratio. And this essentially tells you how profitable you are. You want your acquisition cost, of course, to be less than the lifetime value of a customer. Now, these are several major metrics to focus on, but especially as you mature as a SaaS business, you can also look at other metrics. Now, if your goal is to improve a specific metric, then you want to understand what are the specific drivers that could improve a metric, or to determine if you're currently doing something that's hurting that metric. So for example, if you want to increase the customer lifetime value, you could increase the price of the product, offer additional products or higher tiers of service that customers can upgrade to. You can engage with your email list with promotions, or you can incentivize people to become customers again if they dropped out, or you can offer greater incentives for becoming an annual member over a monthly member, of course, assuming that annual memberships are more profitable for you. Or if you want to decrease your acquisition costs, you could try to optimize your organic, your unpaid traffic channels, such as by offering referral incentives to existing customers or offering an affiliate program to bloggers. You can also try turning off unprofitable campaigns, ad campaigns. So for example, if you're running Facebook, Google, and YouTube ads, perhaps you're seeing a good return on one channel, but not a great return on another. So you can continuously optimize your ad campaigns. All right, let's talk about the pros and cons and things to just consider with this business model. So let's start with the pros. A SaaS business can be an awesome form of recurring revenue. So as mentioned before, depending on the SaaS tool and how large you want to grow, a lot of the costs that you'll experience with this business can be upfront in the initial building phase, but then the ongoing operations and the maintenance after that phase can be comparatively low cost and potentially low time as well, and you're just making monthly profit after building it. Now, because of this, you can sometimes sell these businesses for huge multiples compared to other business models. I just checked the Empire Flippers marketplace right now, and I searched for SaaS businesses for sale, and some of the ones listed are valued at between 46 to 59x, and I just checked our highest selling SaaS business sold for 81x, which means 81 times the average monthly net profit. What that means is if your business makes an average of $13,000 per month in net profit, at 81x, you'd be able to sell that business for over $1 million. So for the right buyers, these are really seen as valuable investments. Another pro is that SaaS businesses can be potentially less susceptible to risk, such as to an Amazon platform change, or even from a Google algorithm update, if you don't heavily rely on organic traffic to generate customers, especially if your churn rate is low. Once you already have the customers, you have them. regardless of any Google algorithm updates that might affect your traffic. Now let's talk about the cons, and I mentioned these before, so I'll just go through them. First is that SaaS businesses can be expensive during the building phase. Next is that they require technical expertise to run, and because of the technical experience, this might limit the type of buyers that you receive if you were to post your business on the marketplace. Another potential con is that you need to understand the SaaS game if you're going to build this, meaning those metrics that we talked about earlier. All right, now let's talk about who might like this business model. Starting with those with a technical background. So technical experience is one of the biggest obstacles for getting into this business model. So if you have this, then that's awesome. But again, you don't absolutely need it now with no-code SaaS tools. Next are those who have a growth specialization. So maybe you have a skill set that would allow you to optimize a specific growth metric, such as the acquisition costs or customer lifetime value. Like for example, let's say you're great with email marketing, or you're great at creating web content for driving traffic, or you're just great with customer support. Next is those with SaaS experience. So understanding the metrics behind SaaS businesses is perhaps more important than building the product itself. If you understand how to operate and grow a SaaS business, you're in a very strong position. Next is those with capital to acquire a large enough SaaS business to maintain a team. So SaaS businesses with technical and operational teams can offer a relatively passive and stable experience for a business owner. So based on what I described, if a SaaS business could be your thing and you have the capital, this honestly could be one of those business models that makes a lot of sense to buy, because all of the things I just described about identifying a market and finding product market fit, building the product, finding traffic channels through which to acquire customers, optimizing the metrics, this has all already been done for businesses that are sold on the Empire Flippers platform. These are SaaS businesses that are ready to be grown, and you're just saving a ton of time and money by skipping all of those steps. But anyways, that's it for SaaS. Now that I've gone over some of the major business models, soon I'm gonna go over how to use the Empire Flippers platform like a pro to identify good deals if you're considering buying a business. So that's it for now. I'll see you in the next one.